After 25 years as a cardiologist, treating over 15,000 heart patients, I've learned that the heart and kidneys are closer partners than most people realize. What affects one often affects the other. And one of the most common questions I get from patients managing kidney concerns is this: what should I eat? More specifically, what about protein? It's a fair question. Protein is essential. Your muscles need it. Your immune system needs it. Your energy depends on it. But here's what I've discovered over the years, something that took me a while to fully appreciate. Not all proteins are created equal when it comes to kidney health. Some proteins are gentle. They nourish your body without asking too much from your kidneys. Others, well, they add extra work. More waste products to filter, more minerals to balance. Today, I want to walk you through both. I'll show you 4 protein sources that I recommend to my patients, ones that support your body without overwhelming your kidneys. And I'll also share 6 that you might want to approach more carefully, or perhaps limit. This isn't about creating fear. It's about giving you information so you can make choices that work for your body. Let's start with the good news. The first protein I want to bring to your attention is one of the most underrated options out there: egg whites. Now, I'll be honest, early in my career, I didn't give egg whites much thought. They seemed, well, plain, boring even. But then, I started paying closer attention to the research and to what was happening with my patients. Here's what makes egg whites special. They contain what's called high biological value protein. That's a fancy way of saying your body can use almost every gram you eat. Think of it like fuel efficiency. Some proteins are like old cars. You put in a gallon, you get 15 miles. A lot of waste. Egg whites are like a hybrid. You put in a gallon, you get 50 miles. Very little waste for your kidneys to deal with. And here's something else that matters. One egg white contains only about 10 milligrams of phosphorus. Compare that to the yolk, which has over 80. For people managing kidney health, phosphorus is something to watch. When kidneys aren't working at full capacity, phosphorus can build up in the blood. Over time, that's not ideal for your bones or your heart. Let me tell you about someone I worked with. Maria was 62, a retired teacher. She came to me frustrated because despite eating what she thought was healthy, her lab numbers weren't cooperating. Phosphorus was creeping up. Energy was going down. We looked at her diet together. Turns out she was eating a lot of chicken and turkey, thinking lean meat was the answer. We made one adjustment. She started swapping some of those meat meals for egg whites, just 3 or 4 times a week. 2 months later, her phosphorus was back in range. And she told me something I found interesting. She said, "I feel lighter, not just physically, but mentally, like I'm not carrying as much worry." That's the thing about finding what works. It takes pressure off, in more ways than one. A few tips if you want to try this. Prepare them gently. Boiled, steamed, or lightly scrambled. Avoid frying in lots of oil or butter. 3 to 4 egg whites per serving is a good starting point. And always cook them thoroughly. Raw egg whites can interfere with certain vitamin absorption, so cooking is important. The second protein might surprise some of you. Tofu. I know. Some people hear tofu and think, that's not for me. Too bland, too unfamiliar. Fair enough. I had a patient once, Mark, 58 years old, who told me he thought tofu was, and I quote, "something for hippies." But Mark was struggling. Stage 4 kidney disease, high phosphorus, low energy. Nothing seemed to be working. So I asked him to try something for me, just an experiment. Add tofu to his soup 3 times a week. He looked at me like I'd asked him to eat cardboard. But he did it. And 2 months later, his labs improved. His energy came back. Even his blood pressure got better. Now he tells everyone about it. Funny how that works. So what makes tofu a good choice? Half a cup gives you about 10 grams of quality protein. That's meaningful. Enough to support your muscles and your healing. But here's the discovery that I found particularly interesting. Unlike animal proteins, which can be acidic and require your body to work harder to balance things out, tofu has a more neutral effect. Your kidneys don't have to work as hard to maintain equilibrium. There's also research suggesting that the compounds in soy may actually help reduce inflammation in kidney tissue. Studies from the University of California have looked into this, and the early findings are promising. Now, a few practical notes. Go for organic when you can. Non-GMO is a good label to look for. Avoid pre-marinated varieties. Those often sneak in extra sodium, which we want to keep an eye on. And skip the deep frying. A light stir-fry with low-sodium soy sauce or coconut aminos works beautifully. Now let's talk about fish, specifically tilapia. If you're someone who enjoys animal protein but wants to be thoughtful about your kidneys, tilapia deserves a spot on your plate. It's mild, it's lean, and it's relatively low in phosphorus compared to many other proteins. A 100-gram serving gives you about 22 grams of protein, with only around 170 milligrams of phosphorus. That's a good trade. What I also appreciate about tilapia is that it's gentle on digestion. Many of my patients find it easier on the stomach than heavier meats. Let me share a quick story. I didn't ask him to give it up entirely. I just suggested replacing 2 of his weekly meat meals with something different. Steamed tilapia with some zucchini and fresh herbs. He tried it, reluctantly at first. A few months later, his blood work improved, and he told me, honestly, it's actually pretty good. I was surprised. That's often how it goes. We resist the change, then wonder why we waited so long. When preparing tilapia, stick with gentle methods: steaming, baking, grilling. Use fresh herbs like parsley and rosemary, a squeeze of lemon. One thing to watch: sourcing. Look for tilapia from reputable farms, ideally with quality certifications. And pair it with lower potassium vegetables like green beans or cauliflower, rather than potatoes or avocado. The fourth option I want to bring up is a grain. Well, technically a seed, but we treat it like a grain. What makes quinoa unusual is that it's a complete protein. That means it contains all 9 essential amino acids your body can't make on its own. Most grains don't do that. Quinoa does. 1 cooked cup gives you about 8 grams of protein, plus fiber, which helps with digestion, and can actually support your kidneys by moving waste through your system more efficiently. Sandra, 70 years old, stage 4 kidney disease, had been struggling to find a grain that worked for her. Rice made her feel bloated. Pasta spiked her blood sugar. She started adding half a cup of quinoa to her dinners. Within a few weeks, her digestion improved. Her energy stabilized, and her lab results moved in the right direction. Her words to me: "It's nutty, it's filling, and I don't feel heavy after." A tip: always rinse quinoa before cooking. This removes BIT, are compounds called saponins. Many brands come pre-rinsed, which saves time. And watch what you add to it. Skip high-sodium broths. Let the natural flavor come through with herbs and a little olive oil. The fourth option I want to bring up is a grain. Well, technically a seed, but we treat it like a grain. Now, let's shift gears. I've shown you 4 proteins that tend to work well for people managing kidney health. But there's another side to this conversation. Some proteins, even ones that seem healthy, can add extra work for your kidneys. They're not bad exactly, but they're worth approaching thoughtfully. Let me walk you through 6 of them. I'm not saying you can never eat these. That would be unrealistic. But awareness helps you make informed choices. First, processed turkey bacon. I know, it sounds like the healthier choice. Turkey instead of pork, lower fat. But here's what often gets overlooked. Processed means added sodium, often around 500 milligrams per slice. That adds up quickly. It also means phosphate additives, which are absorbed more rapidly than natural phosphorus, and preservatives like sodium nitrites. Angela, 64, thought she was making a smart swap when she switched from regular bacon to turkey bacon. Her labs told a different story. Phosphorus went up. Blood pressure stayed high. Swelling in her ankles. Once we removed processed meats from her meals, things began to improve within 6 weeks. The lesson? Processed doesn't automatically mean better. Fresh is usually the safer path. Second, red lentils. This one surprises people. Lentils seem so healthy, high in fiber, good protein, plant-based, all true. But 1 cup of cooked red lentils contains over 350 milligrams of phosphorus and about 700 milligrams of potassium. For someone with reduced kidney function, that's a significant load. I worked with Howard, 59, who had been vegan for years. Red lentils were a staple in his soups and curries. He came to me with fatigue and some heart rhythm irregularities. When we adjusted his diet, swapping lentils for lower potassium options like quinoa and well-soaked dried beans, his symptoms improved within a month. Plant-based is wonderful, but even healthy foods need to be matched to your body's current needs. Third, hot dogs. I'll keep this one brief because it's fairly straightforward. Ultra-processed meats like hot dogs tend to contain high sodium, phosphate preservatives, and oxidized fats. All 3 are things the kidneys have to work harder to handle. If you enjoy them occasionally at a summer barbecue, that's life. Just know what you're working with and balance it elsewhere. Fourth, whey protein isolates. These are popular in fitness circles. Convenient, concentrated protein. But for people with kidney concerns, they come with some considerations. They're high in phosphorus. They generate a lot of nitrogen waste during metabolism. And they lack the balancing nutrients you'd get from whole food protein sources. His numbers kept rising. Energy kept dropping. When we replaced the shakes with whole food proteins like egg whites and quinoa, his numbers improved. He told me, "I never thought something so common could be adding that much work." If you're managing kidney health, whole foods generally serve you better than supplements. Fifth, canned black beans. Beans themselves aren't the issue. The canning process is. Extra sodium gets added. Even after draining and rinsing, 1 cup still delivers around 600 milligrams of potassium. Teresa, 66, was proud of her vegetarian diet, but her potassium kept spiking and she couldn't figure out why. Turns out she was eating canned beans daily. We switched to dried beans that she soaked overnight and cooked herself. Her labs stabilized within weeks. If canned is your only option, choose low-sodium varieties and rinse them well. But dried beans, prepared properly, are generally the better choice. 6th, beef steak. Red meat is often seen as a satisfying protein source, and it can be, in moderation. But it's higher in saturated fat, which can affect both heart and kidney health. It's also higher in phosphorus and can increase uric acid levels. James, 72, insisted on beef 3 or 4 times a week. He believed meat gives strength. Over time, his uric acid rose. He started having gout flare-ups. His labs worsened. We scaled back. Replaced some beef meals with fish and plant proteins. The improvement was clear. He told me, "I still enjoy food, but now it works with my body instead of against it." You don't have to eliminate beef entirely, but awareness about frequency and portion size can make a real difference. Before I close, I want to share one bonus thought. Something that costs nothing and supports everything we've talked about. Walking. Research from places like the Cleveland Clinic has shown that regular light movement can actually improve kidney filtration rates. I've seen it with my own patients. Those who walk daily often report less swelling, more energy, and a clearer mind. One patient described it as waking up with my kidneys every morning. Simple, free, worth trying. So let me bring this together. If you're looking to support your kidney health through protein choices, consider adding more egg whites, tofu, tilapia, and quinoa, and approach processed meats, high-potassium legumes, whey supplements, and frequent red meat with a bit more awareness. This isn't about perfection. It's about progress. Small, consistent choices that add up over time. Your kidneys have been working for you your whole life. Now you have some tools to work for them. I'm Dr. Thomas Miller. Thank you for spending this time with me. If you found this helpful, consider subscribing. I share videos like this regularly, always with the goal of helping you make informed choices about your health. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you in the next one.